morning, good afternoon, and good night for whatever time you're watching this or listening to it. Maybe you're already on Spotify. I'm Alan, by the way, and today I am joined by our newest writer, Franz. Hello, Franz.
Hello, good whatever time it is of the day to everyone. So yes, I'm Franz. I've been working for a few months now with RF. So
Yeah.
pleased to finally join the podcast. So I hope I get some good input to this podcast.
I got explicitly you, yes, particularly you, because of the stuff you've written in the past few weeks, past few months, and how we've kind of discussed certain topics on the group chat, right? All right. So for those of you that don't know Franz very well, we actually knew each other back in college.
Right. Yeah, we worked for the school paper.
Yeah, I did.
So yes, school paper. So I was doing a feature articles writing. So Alan was part of the arts and graphics department, aka
Comics.
aka people we hang out with
Yeah.
department.
And
So,
like a bunch of years later, like down the line, we suddenly met again for Dota. We worked as not very good commentators for that.
well,
Humble.
well,
Hashtag humble.
humble commentators for the Raptor, and we did that TNC event. Remember?
Oh yeah, I
At
remember.
SM North.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Remember that? That was quite a day. Oh God.
Those days are gone.
Those days are gone.
No, like, I don't think I'm gonna come back to that. Like, I don't know.
Hashtag days gone.
Oh man, that game. Like people tell me that game has a heart, but it's in an awful body kind of thing.
Yeah, I believe it's a game that they had an original vision to go with, and then they had to add several things, and then it got diluted. So finally, it released as whatever it is.
That's not a very good game.
Well, I guess it's still decent.
I mean, okay, IGN. I think IGN rated it at the same score as Anthem, which is
Right.
I don't know if is that a good thing? That's probably a bad thing. Like nobody likes Anthem right now.
Yeah, Adam is in a very bad place right now. So,
All right, so just to get to let's help the listeners get to know you a little better. What kind of games do you play?
Me, I play. I am quite flexible as a gamer. But mostly in the action genre. So, I've dabbled into FPS. I used to play a lot of Dota. That's why I got into casting.
Yeah.
So I've like 10,000 hours of Dota 2 or whatever.
Oh God.
Then I play.
I don't know if we should brag about that.
It's 10,000 hours of life well spent. So what else do I play? So I play action games. I like action games basically. So I reviewed Devil May Cry. I really like that.
Oh
So,
yeah, that was a great game.
and sometimes I play FPS games, but I'm not very good at them, so I usually drop them after a while. Recently I've gotten into indie games because of the Switch, so I realized that Switch and indie games are the perfect companion. So
What's your latest pickup?
I just actually bought Shovel Knight today. It's on sale.
Oh
Yeah,
okay.
so it's for like $10, so that's like 550 pesos, something like that.
All right.
So I picked it up. So what else? What else do I play?
Like Shovel Knight that's the one that's getting the free expansion.
Right, yeah. It's gonna be 5 games in one. Currently, they released 3. It's called the Treasure Trove. So there's currently 3 games out of the 5. So they're gonna release one of the new games this in a few months or in a few weeks, something like that.
Mhm.
So I picked it up because it seems like a good deal and it's getting very good reviews. I looked at the YouTube videos. Seems like something up my alley. So basically, I'm very flexible. What else? I'm very flexible except for JRPGs. I don't really play JRPGs or MMOs. I don't really play either of those.
Strangely, you keep posting about weeb stuff on the chat, but okay.
Well, because they're amusing. They're amusing. I don't
And
exactly play them. I like watching people play them though.
And you know we eat them up. That's
Yeah.
why. That's why.
Yeah, and I really like watching people play them. So I've watched my cousins play Final Fantasy 7 and 8.
Mhm.
I've watched people play WoW for like more than a few hours while waiting for a Dota game, something like that. So
Really?
yeah, I kind of know how the systems work, but I haven't really played it. So it's of course the experience is different once you actually get into them.
Yeah, of course. All right.
So yeah.
Like, I mean, I bought Guilty Gear the second it came out
Alright.
on Switch.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, because Accent Core is like the best fighting game in my opinion, like ever.
Well, I also like fighting games, by the way, but I never actually am good at those. But before, I was so obsessed with King of Fighters that I had to play all of them. So I played every King of Fighters game until like 2003. So, and then I played all of the characters in Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 just to see their bios, each one of them. And then I had to read up on the lore of Street Fighter. I couldn't believe there was a lore for Street Fighter back then. And then recently, of course, I played Smash Ultimate. I've played like 70, 80 hours of it. I really like it. So I'm not competitive, but I really like playing it, and I enjoy playing it with friends because it's
That's what it's meant to be.
yeah, that's how it's meant to be. Unfortunately, the Smash community isn't very casual here in the Philippines. So yeah, it's people are still going for Tekken and whatever old school Street Fighters that they're used to. But Smash, I really like Smash, so I wish people would know what it is. And surprisingly, Smash Ultimate is already the best-selling fighting game of all time.
Yeah, it is.
As of a few weeks ago, so
if you call it a fighting game, not just kidding.
right.
I'm not gonna go there.
Anyway, what else? Also, yeah, I also own right now. I own 3 consoles. So I have a gaming PC, a Nintendo Switch, and a PS4. So I'm very flexible with my choices in gaming right now.
Well, don't call a PC a console, but that's not. It's a platform. It's a platform.
Race.
Anyway, all right. So with that out of the way, so you guys have a little peek into the tastes of Franz and what defines how he likes to play games. What's the game that you kind of ground your hours into that you would remember like right now?
Right now, on top of my mind, I would say Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight. So you really like the roguelikes?
Yeah, I really like, not really roguelikes. I personally don't like roguelikes that much, so because most of them annoy me that I have to start all over again. But I really like Metroidvanias.
Metroidvania.
Yes,
Okay, so you Symphony of the Night kind of thing.
Yeah. Basically Metroid and other indie games like SteamWorld Dig. Really like those. Hollow Knight, of course. Hollow Knight was amazing. Like, I've played several Metroidvanias, and I would say Hollow Knight is in the top 2 or top 3. It's that good.
Then you're also excited for that game that Iga's coming up with.
Which one?
Igavania.
Right. Yeah. That Bloodlines, was it?
No. Bloodstain.
Bloodstain. There you go. Bloodstain. Yeah. They released that other one that plays like the old school Castlevanias, and then they're gonna release the new one that plays like Symphony.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited for that. Actually. Yeah.
And it's coming out on the Switch.
Yes. And of course, Hollow Knight 2, they announced it, so I'm really excited for that. It's supposed to be a DLC. Now it's a standalone game with more of content. Because Hollow Knight was probably the longest Metroidvania I've ever played. It's like 50 or 60 hours if you want to complete it. Yeah.
Is that
so?
so?
Yeah, it's really worth your money. And of course, it's also really difficult. So if you like difficult games, it's for you.
Like I'm treating my Switch right now as more of a JRPG machine.
Okay.
Because I don't find myself having time to play JRPGs except when it's portable.
Right.
Lately. But
yeah, it's not a bad idea.
But maybe when there's like 3 of me, I can play more games. Anyway, all right, so let's move on. Okay, so you're the first. I kind of realized that I gave you a pretty tough feature to write as one of your big assignments at first. Mm-hmm. So you wrote the defense case for the Epic Games Store.
Right.
But let's get this out of the way right now. At the time you wrote that, and right now, are your feelings towards the Epic Games Store changed?
Well, for the most part, not really. So I wrote this like I think a month ago. Yeah, was it? No, for the most part, not really. But slowly, little by little, Epic Games, I'm losing a little bit more trust for them.
Yeah, they're chipping away at that goodwill. Huh?
Yeah, but like what I was telling Alan earlier, it's inevitable that Epic Games is going to be a player for years to come.
Yeah,
I would say it's inevitable.
Because they're backed by a huge company and doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon.
Yeah, they're slowly chipping away at Steam's advantages, although their store has a setback. So for Epic Games, in my article, I linked their Trello
their roadmap.
Their roadmap. Yeah. So it was looking really promising until a few weeks ago they had to delay one of the major features. I believe that was the shopping cart. So I believe they still don't have a shopping
A
cart.
shopping cart.
Yeah, shopping cart. So I mean, I like the idea of a Steam competitor, but come on, guys. I mean, whatever. I mean, I hope in a few months' time we will all be saying different things about Epic. I mean, they really have the tools to get there, but right now, I'm disappointed.
Yeah, let's just illustrate that in a more thorough way. We have the time. So Epic Game Store is our competitor to Steam now, and on paper that's a good thing. Why do we want something like that?
Well, basically, Steam has become too complacent now, and the market is bombarded by lots of low quality stuff. So, for example, there was a game that someone announced a game last week about wanking. Believe it or not,
What?
it's called Wanking Simulator, and that's going to be on Steam. So games like that, and plus there's developers seem to like to abuse the early access thing on Steam. So that has grown like a lot of PUBG clones that are not very good, things like that. And Steam has been complacent for very many years that the stores look the same. So it's not really evolved on there recently, when Discord has been pushing users away to their own communities. So Steam was forced to revamp their chat, and now here comes Epic, and then Steam suddenly announces that we're gonna redesign the store after all these years.
All right. So the lack of competition.
Yeah.
The lack of competition is made Steam in a way that we're comfortable where we are. We don't need to change anything. But now that there's a certain threat, they're kind of kept on their toes. So
Right.
it's the free market ideally performing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. I mean, ideally.
What it's supposed to do. But recently, like Epic has a few things going on. We'll talk about that later.
Right.
So Epic's way of what do you call this? Establishing itself on the market is by grabbing exclusives, right? And people dislike that a lot. But you didn't seem to be too bothered by it.
No, because that's how you build a user base. Like you have something that only you have, then people will come for you. So, for example, Nintendo, you can only play Mario games on Nintendo legally. Of course, you can only play Mario games on Nintendo, so you have to get a Switch for that. So, if you want to play Halo, you need to get an Xbox for that. And that's how they built the Xbox Live community. So, Sony follows suit with their own. They want to have their own Halo-like properties, but they seem to not have worked very well. So if you still want to play Halo, Xbox is the way to go. So at the same time, people are saying that the PC market used to be free. We didn't have exclusives and all of that. But I say that before Steam came, it was all like installer discs. Like if you needed to have like 100 different discs just to install. For example, this game had its own installer. This game had its own installer. So if you wanted to play StarCraft, you needed to install it. You use the StarCraft disc to install, and then if you wanted to play Half-Life, you needed to have a Half-Life disc to play it. So
and and some of them have like 2 or 3 discs.
Yeah,
that was back in CD-ROM age.
Yeah. So Steam found a way to consolidate all of that. So now, fast forward to 2019, Steam basically is I would say a monopoly. Pretty much. So people will say that Steam has competition. There's Origin and whatnot.
GOG.
Yeah, GOG, but they're not really competition. I mean, they only release games that they publish. For example, Origin only publishes EA games.
Yeah.
So that's where you only find EA games. So that's in a way, Origin is also exclusive in that if you want to play FIFA, you need to have Origin. So with Epic doing this, I think it's one way to attack Steam's user base. So it's something that Steam doesn't have, that you can only find on Epic Store. So,
all right. Before I work a bit into that, I want to ask something a bit of a side issue. So, you said build a user base, right? And it looks like at least a bit of a tinfoil hat thing going on here. It looks like they're trying to build a big user base and try to commoditize that a bit because of because of what they're doing with the launcher itself, it seems to be peeking into several DLL files within the PC, meaning they're checking how your programs are interlinked, what they're interacting with. They seem to be logging your user data. And they even went as far as accessing your Steam friends list, which I can understand that's convenient. I can see how that's convenient. But without the transparency of agreeing to that, that's as good as stealing data and then selling it off to somebody else. Because they can do that, right? So, isn't there a bit of a danger there that we need to be aware of?
Well, I believe, the official statement from someone from Epic is that they only look at these files if you opt into the Steam Steam integration, something like that. So I'm not sure how true that is. So yeah, it is a bit concerning, but at the same time, I just want to play games. I don't care who they see as my Steam friends personally, but I can see why it might bother other people, especially now that Epic doesn't have necessarily a good reputation when it comes to and of course security. I've personally gotten emails about people trying to log into my Epic account some years back.
Dang.
Yeah, I think that was a year or two ago before they launched the store. But still, it's a concern. It's a concern. But I don't necessarily see this Steam thing a bad thing if it's actually opt-in. But yeah, I can see why people are scared of Epic, especially they have ties to Tencent.
Yeah. Oh my. Yeah. Tencent. Okay. You talked back then. We weren't able to capitalize on this, but you said that Tencent seems to be experimenting with facial recognition or something.
Yeah.
So, if you stack those cards, you can see the bit of a story coming out. Like, oh, Tencent is trying to get your data. Like that could be concerning.
Well, yeah, Tencent is operating in China, so in China basically they can do anything they want in China. But now if they're playing with Epic Games and other companies that they have a share into, like Ubisoft, well, from what I'm seeing, they're mostly just sitting back and letting these companies flourish with the investment money. So far, one day they might decide to capitalize and they say, "Hey, Epic, we own 40% of you, so I'm gonna make a decision here, and you better follow." That's a possibility in the future, but hopefully not, because these companies are doing well on their own.
Okay. Or, well, let's just hope it doesn't go to that dystopian future. Tencent gets to say what you play.
Tencent gets to decide what you see in the cinemas nowadays. In case you noticed.
Oh my.
Yeah, half of the Hollywood movies have Tencent Pictures as part of the production, as well as their competitor Alibaba. They also have their share in it.
Alright.
So, basically, China is taking over
the world. The world.
Yeah.
The world. So,
yeah, pretty much.
Time to learn some new languages. But anyway, all right. Getting back to the topic. So, exclusivity. So, what do you think about exclusivity as a concept? I guess I could see how it works, but how they're nabbing the exclusives right now, that's kind of fishy, isn't it? Like, you have Phoenix Point. It was originally promised to the backers because it was crowdfunded, and this is not the only one. It was promised that they would be releasing on Steam or just generally available to several platforms, and then they sign up for the exclusivity, right? So isn't that kind of lying to your backers?
Well, in a way, yeah, you're lying to your backers, that's for sure. But if you think about it from the developer's point of view, it makes sense. It makes sense that Epic comes to you like, "Hey, we're opening our new store. You get a better cut of your revenue here. In fact, we're gonna guarantee you several thousand amount of sales." So that's how their deals work. Like, we're gonna guarantee you a few thousand units of sales. So,
and then I heard that they also have cash infusion.
Yeah. Plus, you're not gonna be buried into all of those Steam releases. You get highlighted on the Epic Store. So if I'm a developer, I'm like, I'm gonna sleep over it. The next day, I'm like, that doesn't sound too bad. People will shit on my company, or whatever. But in the end, I get highlighted in the Epic Store. They care for me. I get a better cut of my revenue. I get guaranteed sales, and it seems to be working so far. So with several developers signing up for exclusivity deals, at least temporarily.
Yeah, actually, they're giving it a year-long exclusive, and as the years come by, they don't seem as long anymore, right?
Right. Yeah. It's not gonna be. I mean, I have lots of backlog, so it's not gonna be that long. And I think it's there's gonna be more and more exclusive, especially if you wait for E3. Epic is sponsoring the PC game show, so there's gonna be even more exclusives for the Epic games, or like it or not.
For me, like if the exclusives started out as that, like how Sony did it, how Xbox did it, they're developed really as an IP that was originally really meant for that platform, which these are console exclusives and they make more sense. Epic itself is just a platform on PC, and what I find contentious is that they're aggressively trying to get these IPs, like they're flagging them, they're claiming internet territory, right? I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll claim Halo next time. Who knows?
Who knows?
Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah, Microsoft is Microsoft. They're huge, so they don't need that kind of thing. Plus, Halo is Halo. It will sell anywhere. I'm surprised they actually put it on Steam because they could just make it Windows Store exclusive and it would sell well. It's Halo.
No, I think I'm starting to think that Microsoft is getting more and more into just distributing their services everywhere.
Right. Yeah, that's been the trend for the past few years. So they're not only like focusing on Xbox anymore. They want Xbox to be everywhere. It's not only just a console. So that's why they're releasing Xbox games on the Nintendo Switch. That's why they're releasing Xbox games on PC. They want Xbox services on your Windows computer. For example, if you want to record your game on a PC, you open up the Xbox game bar and you can record your game from there.
And I hate it, but yes.
Yeah, that's that's how Microsoft works nowadays.
I turned it off. Anyway, so yeah, there's, I don't know, like how they're nabbing, like one of the worst examples I think would be Rocket League.
Yeah.
Which it's been active, it's been serving customers on Steam, and now they got an exclusive for it, so now they have to pull it out of Steam.
It's rumored that they might do that, but so far no. Hopefully no, because I mean I'm sure Epic would want to make money off Steam too.
No, like I would they're not gonna sell the game anymore, but those who own the game in Steam can still play it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, they can still play it, but you don't get to buy the game
on Steam
anymore. You can't get to buy it on Steam anymore. You buy it at the Epic Store.
All right. I mean, hopefully it doesn't happen. I mean, I've read about that rumor. So they say it might happen down the road or in a few months, but hopefully not, because I mean, Steam is still Steam. Your game has been there like for many years. It's built your user base. Rocket League is a huge esport because of Steam mainly. Right? So, I mean, it exists on console, but it's mostly still a PC mainly esports community.
Well, okay. Well, maybe if we're gonna, all right, maybe it's because it hasn't been as hot as an IP in the past year or so. I mean, it doesn't. It's not exactly making headlines, right?
Right.
So maybe the Epic offered something that'll help them grow back into prominence.
Well, I think what Epic offered them is a chance to publish their next game exclusively on the Epic Store with all of these different kind of perks.
So it's gonna be Rocket League 2?
Maybe. Or a different. I mean, I'm sure Psyonix is. I'm sure someone at Psyonix must be so tired of making DLC for Rocket League.
More flags.
Yeah, more flags, more skins, more WWE themes, cars or whatever.
Well, we'll see. We'll see about that. But I don't think they're gonna go that far. Though I've seen people comment on it. That seems to be the running rumor. So, and we're a little concerned now. So, here's exclusivity. It's the ability to be the only person to be able to sell that, right? The only person that can offer that service. They're not exactly services. They're exclusive products, I guess.
Right.
So, and on top of that, all this aggressive expansion on the IPs, you see the development of the roadmap, the features of Epic. It's not moving.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's something as simple as a shopping cart.
Yeah, so some well, there was some delays on the recent roadmap that they released, so it's really disappointing. Now they launched their own like Steam sale equivalent, and it's a little bit of a disaster because people who want to buy several games at the same time, sometimes the store won't even work for them.
Well, that's the sale. We'll get to the sale.
Okay.
We'll get to because that's a whole story on its own. All right, but what I'm trying to draw here is you claimed that Steam has become stagnant, has become too complacent in where it's sitting, and here we have Epic that's getting complacent in its development because it believes in the strength of its IPs. And it's not even its own IPs for real. They just say, okay, this is the only place where you can get like this game or something. Like imagine if there's only one cinema where you can watch Endgame.
Right.
Yeah. You can only watch it in SM cinemas. Like, no.
Right.
No.
That's what they do for anime movies.
Yeah, that's what they do for anime movie, and I don't get to like it. I don't like it.
Right.
So it looks like they're also being complacent with their development. Like, where do we draw the line where we still say that these moves to get certain exclusives are okay, and at what point do you think they've had enough of it?
I think from a business standpoint, if I'm Epic, I'm okay. Because in the end, I mean, I'm gonna go out and be Houdini here, or it's gonna work. It's gonna work. Once you get all of these big games, it doesn't matter how bad your store is. In the short term, because eventually you'll be able to fix it, but eventually people will come to your store because they want to play Fortnite. You want to play what else? What else are they getting for exclusives?
Phoenix Point, Anno 1800.
Yeah,
Man, I hated when they suddenly pulled that out. Anyway,
people will want to play Borderlands and during the Christmas.
Outer Worlds.
Yeah. People want to play that. I mean, people are gonna come. Even though the store has hit a snag, people will still buy it.
Well, what if they resort to piracy instead because they really don't like what you're giving?
I mean, that's a thing being thrown around today. But honestly, I think it's just a bad excuse for people to get free games.
Like,
I mean, they're gonna say that, I don't like Epic Store, so I'm just gonna pirate the game. So honestly, I think it's a bad excuse. It's about you're not supporting the developers. You're not making the PC community better. You're resorting to these. You're basically, for a lack of a better word, stealing the game. That's bad for developers. But at the same time, I understand why people do it as well, because it's convenient, and it's easy and it's free. But I mean,
it's risky too.
Yeah, I mean, from a moral standpoint, if it's not really ideal to do that. Even though you hate this particular company, I just wouldn't rather buy their game than pirate it, because I know it's really bad. Not just for me, but not for me, not for the developer who works hard on the game, but also for the publisher who releases the game.
Like, I would say, maybe what I would suggest would be maybe there are better alternatives. I mean, what's a year? What's a year to a person that has a ton of backlog?
True.
That has a ton of backlog. So, in the end, maybe the exclusivity nabbing, it's probably not a good guarantee if people start thinking like that.
Yeah, but I mean, how many people think like that? By the time, for example, the game isn't hot anymore, the sales chart slope is gonna go. It's gonna be stagnated. It's
gonna dip in like 2 weeks. It dips in about 2 weeks, and then stay steady, and then it's practically gone a year later.
Yeah, it's very rare that a game has a resurgence like Rainbow Six Siege. It has had a resurgence because of the new content in the esports, but it's very rare that the game does that. You need to have a very big company backing you. You need to have very dedicated devs in order to do that. So I honestly don't think that's very viable.
But all right, so I don't know. I'm like, let's study this exclusivity more, because is it really good for the industry? Like, maybe it's good as a competitor, but we don't. If we're seeing that the development of innovation of services are suffering for it, is it really that good for us? Why don't they just? I mean, right now they're doing the sale, right, which is kind of good. wait, no, it's too. There's too much. It branches too much. We'll go back to that a little later.
Okay.
Like our opening question was, hey, if you're really interested in giving more to the developers, which is okay, you can believe Randy Pitchford if you want to. Like,
In the end, everyone wants to make money. In the end.
but if you really want to compete, why not just like give a $5 discount, and that's shouldered by Epic, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that wouldn't work because why would people even bother to open your launcher if it's available on Steam anyway? If it's just $5 more, unless the discount is super big, you're not really gonna get a big user base out of that. So I think while it might be ideal that you're just gonna have an even ground where people just compete with services or with better prices, I don't think it's gonna work. I mean, there's a reason why even shopping malls, like say SM, they have their own brands there, like the department store.
Yeah, bonus.
Yeah, you cannot find that elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
If you want to go shop for cheap stuff like bonus, I don't know, toilet paper or something, you need to go buy at SM, right? So I think in a similar way, that's how it's gonna be working for in terms of game stores. So it's not like your PC suddenly won't work when you install Epic Game Store. You can have both Steam and Epic Game Store, and I think that's what they're betting on.
I think what's happening lately is that people are making their own by making their own launchers, and people are getting all the launchers. So it's possible for me. We have Epic and Steam. Then there's Uplay, then GOG, Battle.net.
Battle.net, yeah.
That's already 5.
Origin, what else? Discord has games in it.
Discord.
Although they failed their store. They failed.
It burned, man. Alright, I think okay, so there's a bunch of other minor ones like does that still work?
It does. They gave away Morrowind for free.
Not only did they give Morrowind, they also gave your financial information.
Oh right, yeah, I remember that.
This is the 76 is the best. So spicy. It's so spicy.
The launcher flopped so bad they had to go back to Steam. So bad.
And all right, so there's the that sounds pretty inconvenient. You want to balance it at some point that there's a aggregation point, but not just one, right? Not just one. Maybe there's more. I don't know how you're supposed to divvy it up, right? I'm not sure how. But I can see your point that if you let one just stay on top, and everybody was afraid of this back in like 2012. Like if Steam stays on top all the time, who's to say that when Gaben starts being not so nice or that head gets switched, that Steam is still gonna be nice to all of us?
Right. Yeah.
And recent years have shown us that they're not exactly nice to all of us.
Yeah.
They don't give very good deals to developers, and that's what Epic Games was focusing on. They're giving a bigger revenue cut to developers, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, like that's the only really good argument that I could see for their standpoint. Epic Game Store becomes a platform where the customers are the commodity, because the people that buy it will get you more money, while Steam stays as a consumer-centered service where your developers are probably getting paid dirt cheap. So there needs to be some sort of balance between these two.
I think what's gonna happen is it's gonna balance itself out eventually
over time.
Yeah. I mean, in 6 months' time, Epic Store is gonna look very different. So will Steam once they launch their redesign. So right now, this is the conundrum right now. But in a few months, maybe even as soon as E3, they might announce something big that will totally change whatever our perception is of them. So it's very fickle right now. It's very volatile right now.
Yeah.
So our arguments may not stand for very long when it comes to this.
Well, yeah, it's a volatile situation right now. Like our like just a few days ago, I think. Just a few days ago, the dates for the Steam sale that were leaked, and we all know it's coming. It's not a big surprise.
Yeah, surprise.
And then like a day after, Epic launches their own Epic sale.
Yeah, Epic sale. It
That-
really is epic.
And and everybody's surprised because the discounts are big.
Yeah.
The discounts are big, like $10 discounts for games that aren't released yet.
Yeah,
Kind of big.
yeah, and it caused a controversy because some developers were pulling their games out or increasing the prices
To make up for the
that's actually very scummy.
actually
That's very scummy.
because the discount is at Epic's expense.
right,
Yeah. So they're the ones paying for it, and that's exactly what I was suggesting during the time that Epic's Game Store was releasing games like Metro last night. They were just matching the price. Why not just put it in a discount so that you're showing that goodwill, right? But now what they're doing, here's the thing. Probably the developers didn't know that the discounts were coming.
That's what I'm reading. There's several different accounts. Some of the developers already knew, that's why they increased the price. Some of them didn't know, and of course there were people who like the sales. So it's really like it's a mess. I mean, baby steps for Epic, but at least we know they're willing to provide these kinds of sales, and then they're actually very enticing. Like Phoenix Point, it's not even on sale. I mean, it's on pre-order. It's coming out in September, and you can buy for $6 or was it $7? So that's a really good and enticing price for people who have never bought from Epic Store.
There's also, if you think about it, even though Epic Store is saying that they're the ones shouldering the cost, maybe that's not entirely true.
Well, there's a possibility.
Yeah, but maybe because if you're selling Phoenix Point for just $7, you sure? You sure that's the price that was in what the developer had in mind?
I think that's why some developers were not happy with it, because they feel that it's devaluing their games. So it's at the same. I can compare it to the was the Tomb Raider game, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, where people were not happy that they just bought the game and now it's already discounted by like 20% or something.
Like in a week.
Yeah, in a week. In a week. So that's how. So I can compare it to something like that.
Yeah. So now you've got like full backer betrayal now. Like, not only are you not getting it on your ideal platformer, not only did you get kind of half truth about your game, now people are getting it cheaper than you did.
Yeah.
They can't that's a problem.
Yeah, and of course developers don't want their game to seem like it's cheap. It's a new game, it's yet to come out, and it's already discounted. So people, when the game comes out, people are not gonna buy it at full price. They would rather wait for the next sale, where they could buy for the next $7 again.
All right. So I guess we could both agree that that Epic kind of slipped on this one. They tried to throw a punch and they punched themselves, in my opinion. Because
it's good for consumers.
did you buy anything from Epic Store because of the
I
sale?
was tempted to buy. So this close to buying it, and I know some people who did.
Okay. With some games were really not into the sale. I think what they did was across the board, everybody gets a discount, and those that didn't want to, they really didn't want to, they just pulled their game out.
Right. Yeah.
And we'll wait for the store to finish their sale,
Yeah.
and we'll be back.
Yeah, they better work this thing out for the next sale. I mean, I'm happy it's happening at least. So we know at least there's a chance we can get some good prices from the Epic Store.
I mean, okay, the good thing that we can see from here is that we can see that Epic has the flexibility to actually offer something that the consumers actually want.
Right.
Because if, that's the only way you're going to get me to cross over. Like, well, one, you have to have your Epic launcher actually working. Two,
Right.
There's got to be a better reason for me to trust you and not Steam, because Steam has been good to me. Steam has been good. Like refunds or basically integrity of the launcher itself. I don't think I've had security threats. I have a PayPal account connected to it, and I've never had a problem.
Okay. Well, for me, I think I have the same. I think I will agree mostly, but Steam has also had its issues with security before. That's why they put up the 2FA. That's why they're now requiring you to buy a game before you can add friends or something like that. Because people used to hack your Dota items or something like that. That was a thing some years back. So Russian hackers, I believe, they would hack your Dota inventory and trade items to themselves, and then you lose your $1,000 Pudge cosmetic or something.
Oh,
so
my.
that was an issue back then. So Steam isn't necessarily in the clear with this as well.
Okay.
So for me, another thing Epic should add is, I believe they're working on this, is regional pricing. Steam has really good regional pricing when it comes to other countries like here, the Philippines, where you can get games for cheaper. So,
But the prices are more or less within the same range.
well, yeah, except for some games. For example, I believe Resident Evil 2, the remake, launched for like 1,600 pesos. That's like almost half the price of the US launch.
That's about 50, that's 25, around $20 or so.
Yeah,
To
around,
USD.
around $35 or something. So that's I believe that's almost half the price. So,
Right, yeah, 35, yeah.
Yeah, and I believe Epic is already working on that. Some regions get better prices than others because, I mean, of course, financially we're not all equal
Well,
with
two
other
things.
countries.
There's also some countries have digital sales tax.
Mm-hmm. All right, yeah,
which is
that's
why
true.
they can't exactly just put if you buy it from another region, like say America, I think they already have that working in Europe.
Mhm.
Definitely, there's an additional price tag there.
Yeah, so I think they have to add that. Of course, they have to not revamp, add the features to their store.
Uh-huh.
What else? Make it convenient for me to pay. I mean, Steam, you can buy. Of course, Steam has had lots of years to build this up, but you can buy Steam cards. You can buy it from those kiosk things in the mall.
Yeah.
Buy Steam credits from there. You can buy it by credit card. You can gift Steam credit to other people. I did that for Christmas. So I believe Epic one day will get there, but hopefully sooner, not later. So I might be more enticed to buy games from their store.
From your perspective, like these store features, they seem so obvious. Seem so obvious and standard for any online store, right? Why do you think they're taking so long to develop a cart, develop a favorites list or a wish list? Like, this seems so very basic. Why do you think they're taking so long to do it?
Honestly, I think they got in way over their heads because for example, they already signed up Metro to this deal, so they wanted to they wouldn't want to delay it. They would want to have their store have these games already because they already made these deals, and they were probably thinking that by this time we will have this feature, so it wouldn't be a problem. But turns out development is harder than what they thought it would be. That's my perception of it.
So, I mean, Epic Games has Fortnite. They have a massive development team.
Right.
And a storefront doesn't seem to be that complicated compared to that.
Compared to Fortnite.
Yeah, like
Yeah, you make a good point for that.
I think the only thing I can think that could be an issue would be like maybe legals and licensing. You don't want to release a feature where you can get sued for it. That might be a thing. The other thing is, I'm not sure how complex it is to put a game in your launcher. Like, normally it's just a folder in your hard drive, right? But maybe there's some sort of integration that they need to face, and with all these exclusives they're facing, they have to make sure that all these games actually work. So maybe there's a complication there. That's what I'm thinking, and that's why I think that they're dedicating all these resources towards just putting up that internet territory that you want to play this game, you play it in my house. You play it in my house.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Or maybe Fortnite development is just so hectic and so demanding. They don't have time to do this. I mean, they don't have the resources to allocate to this.
Actually, yeah, Kotaku. I think it was either Kotaku or Polygon have for some reason recently been coming up with pretty good journalistic work.
Right. When it comes to different labor practices in different companies, right?
And there was a call. There was an article talking about the insane crunch of Epic Games for Fortnite.
Yeah, I would imagine that. I mean, imagine you're gonna have new content every week. No other game does this. New content every week. So new content, new balance changes, and then new season every few months. So I believe that there's just a lot of content that they have to cover.
That's insane. Like every week?
Yeah, every week. And there's no other game does this. I mean, other than mobile games. Of course, mobile game development is easier.
It's lighter. It's lighter.
Yeah, than actual Fortnite. They just released the John Wick thing event. event in the skin. So that must have been that must have taken a few months or weeks to shape before that actually happened. So imagine the crunch time at Epic Games or in other live what you call that, live services, live service games.
Live service games. All right,
Yeah,
we're
when
gonna
we
go
were
there.
actually good, yeah.
We're gonna go there.
So
But-
you mentioned that.
Yeah, so I was actually intending to segue another way, but so Steam and the Epic are services to us, and there's actually some issues with that. There was a time somebody was banned for cheating in Dota to the point that all of their Steam games were pulled.
Oh yeah, I read about that.
That's what makes these services kind of scary because they're selling new licenses. Now, there's been a recent uproar about live services being fraudulent. I don't exactly agree with that. We'll walk through them, but there are two cases that tell me that okay, we need to draw the line somewhere, right?
Right.
So the first case is going to be Anthem, because that's the poster child of a bad live service game. All right, what do you know about Anthem?
Anthem. Well, Anthem has been in development limbo for many years. Then finally, when it comes out, all we know about it is that it's Destiny or Warframe, but with Iron Man suits. So the concept sounds good. People were hyped. I mean, EA marketing machine is big. So they got people to be hyped about it, and of course, it turns out to be a disaster.
Of course, it did.
Well, not as bad as Fallout 76, but still a disaster.
It's still a disaster. But there was not only number one, the loot rate, the rate of the loot dropping was awful. So grinding doesn't seem very rewarding. Then the actual game itself has a lot of optimization issues.
Yeah, I believe balance issues as well.
Yeah, balance
And I believe you could wipe your PS4 if
Oh
it keeps on crashing, and then your PS4 suddenly decides, oops, I can't read the database, you better reformat me. And I believe it even crashed a few computers, even the most powerful ones with the RTX 2080 or something like that.
Doesn't matter how strong it is if the code is flawed to the point that if the computer in your car tells you to drive off a cliff, no matter how good your car is, it's gonna get wrecked.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, that's how Anthem launched. So very lukewarm. Even EA just released their financials a few weeks ago, and they were disappointed with the sales. So it still did well, of course, but not as well as what EA might have invested into. So yeah, that's Anthem.
Okay, so I guess disappointment for everyone. You know, it was a bad game. People were in a bad spot for developing it, and even the people that tried to make money off of it didn't make enough money for it. Right. So, should games as a service, should that be a thing? Should that?
I mean, it's a natural progression. Before we just got games in diskettes or cards, and that was it. Then the advent of the internet came. Now you can get patches and download packs. So eventually, it was inevitable that you're gonna have a mix of both. A mix of a game that's continuously getting new content, a game that at the same time is still still has the same core mechanics, but it could be very good or bad depending on the developer. So say I was mentioning Warframe earlier. Take a look at that game. That game launched with lukewarm reception. Now it's what people would call an amazing game. It's free.
Yeah, actually, when you think about it, live service games have been around much longer than we take it for. It's only that AAAs have tried to take advantage of the model.
Right.
I mean, look at your phone. If you're playing something like Great Grand Order, Mobile Legends, I'm just naming the games I play. I don't know, Arena of Valor, if that's still a thing.
Yeah.
Because the Philippines just lost Arena of Valor.
Well, that's more of Tencent's fault and G Arena's fault than anything.
The call out! There's a call out!
But of course, if you look at it in the bigger picture, Arena of Valor is the biggest game in the world.
It is
in China.
Yeah, it is.
Well, of course, if you're big in China, you're big in the world. So they're the biggest game in the world. Believe it or not.
Yeah, actually, we're the outlier. Mysteriously, Mobile Legends is selling here for some reason.
Oh, they were first what you call that? First mover.
All right.
First mover.
And yeah, actually, the Philippine crowd tends to stick with the first mover.
Yep. And low spec requirements.
True.
Okay.
All right.
Back to
so
the viewer.
So live services. So these mobile games, you don't have a pay gate. You don't have to pay to play it. Anthem, you pay it. You pay an upfront price, and then you expect it to be monetized over time, like through maybe loot boxes or a subscription model. Like VIP status kind of thing, right? So, like, who's gonna want that? Like, how is that supposed to work out?
I guess the initial pay is to hook you into it.
Yeah.
So once you run off the content, they sell you even more of it eventually. But of course, the first phase has to work first. The part that you already have to pay to get into it is what made games like Artifact fail.
True.
Compared to
oh
other
my
games.
goodness, Artifact.
Yeah.
Yeah, less than 2 months. Less than
2 months. I mean, you're competing with Hearthstone, which is free, and then you want people to pay for your card game, and then you're gonna sell them even more stuff that's cost the same as your competition. I mean, doesn't make sense at all.
I mean, look at that. Like EA had a prime example of a live service game, which is Hearthstone is a live service game. Yeah, that works, and a live service game that didn't work. Same genre, like pretty much same everything, but the other one had a paywall.
Yeah.
Right? So and we're actually not sure if people are ready to move on to a card game from the Dota fan base. You actually can't say that. But anyway, utter failure on part 2, and it wasn't a bad game.
Yeah,
it wasn't a bad game. I enjoyed playing it for a few hours, and then I just realized that I wasn't really fighting anyone anymore. Like, what happened? But anyway, you have 2 models there. It really should be a form of appreciation. You need to appreciate the IP before you agree to be monetized over time. Right. We have other models of it already. There's online games that run on subscription models, Final Fantasy 14, Guild Wars, stuff like that, and those worked. Those worked for them. World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Those worked. So I'm not sure why they've decided to put up this strange model, and we're not even sure if it's gonna keep running for a year.
Yeah. I believe it's because they already invested into it. I mean, the game has been in development for like 7 years, 6 years. So they've already invested way too much in it. And they had to launch something, and they had to make something out of it. If you're in the case of the developers of EA, you want to see increased profit every year, and live services are the way to go. I mean, it's no secret that those free-to-play mobile games that have microtransactions earn more than the usual $60 game that you're playing on console.
Still, but all right, fair point. They if you're a business, you're trying to get your money back at least, right? But of course, getting your money back over 6 years that's not good enough. Not to make more money. But why does the customer have to be the one burdened to carry that? They didn't decide for you to do that.
That's how corporations work. That's how corporations work.
But all right, okay. So maybe games are bound to become live services. I don't exactly agree with that, but there are still places where games don't have to be. Sekiro being a big success is a good representation of that. They don't need to rely on third-party services. You don't need things like Anthem. They need servers. They need instances. They need that kind of technical support and constant updates to content. Right. So maybe that can work. But if your initial product is just that bad, no way, man. No way is that happening.
Yeah.
The way I see it, because I don't agree with people that say that live services are fraudulent by default, because I'm of the stance that you don't blame the knife for the murder, kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, so we had this awkward cut right now. That's because I didn't realize the battery ran out. I'm so sorry, Rance.
No, it's fine. It happens.
But where we left off is around the point where we're saying that live service games don't have to be. They're not necessarily fraudulent. The tool or the model isn't what it's at fault. It's normally bad business practices, right? So, and actually, we're leading up to trying to define what live services mean. What exactly are they? So, do they require maybe if it's a product, that requires a third party to service it constantly just to keep it working, then fine, right?
Yeah.
So that would be something like Dota 2. Hearthstone is a live service game. Warframe is a live service game.
Right.
It's not necessarily a live service by legal definition, but if we're saying that it's something that needs constant updates, it needs maintenance. Yeah, maintenance from your tech team or something. Needs a server to run that you don't own. Then it's probably a live service.
Yep, it's true. So yeah, live services are. We were discussing earlier before it got cut that live services are not necessarily a fraud because not all live services are bad. I mean, of course, there's lots of disasters like Anthem and Fallout 76 that have very disastrous launches, and that makes live services look bad. But on the other end, there's games that are free and have continuous new content streams and huge updates for free, such as Warframe and Fortnite. Fortnite has lots of new content almost every week, and it's updated regularly, has good balance changes, and it's very dynamic. It's not like they just make an addition just to sell stuff to you. Of course, it happens as well, but at the same time, the basic content is also updated with very good new additions and features.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, live services aren't exactly. We already rely on them quite a lot. I mean, you check your email on it. Your internet subscription is a live service if you think about it. It's not a software, but it's a service. So it's not that big. It's not a very big jump. It's just that the game model itself changed. But there's actually a lot of things that we find that are live services that aren't exactly games. That would, like, MS Office is technically a live service. Everybody uses MS Office. And if you're creative, you use Adobe.
Right.
Like that's Photoshop or not Projector. AE,
Premiere.
Yeah, Premiere, all that. Like, and there's even free things that are live services like Warframe, like OBS. If you think about it, it's kind of a live service because it gets updated on its own. It's open source. XSplit is run on a subscription model. I mean, if you're gonna go strictly with legalese, legal terms, they're not. But they kind of operate on that idea. So I guess we could agree on that. If it's a live service, if it requires third-party maintenance or a service or something like a support from somewhere, like a matching server, an update server, that kind of thing, right? So back to Adobe. There's a bit of a story coming out of that one.
Yeah.
So people on social media kind of got an alert, like saying that Adobe is telling people that, hey, if you don't use our latest version, you might be up for court. You can get sued.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, like why? I mean, these people subscribe to your products because they rely on it. Now you're gonna do this to them. This is like really bad wording. This is really bad wording because these people use their old versions because it's more stable. They know already how to use it, and then you suddenly force them to use the current version, which still has bugs, has new UX changes they might not be used to. I mean, and has whatever things that may not be that may, like, for example, if you're rendering a video and it suddenly crashes in the middle of it, it's because this version is not stable yet.
Oh,
so what are you gonna do about it?
I know that all too well. Oh goodness. All right, so there's a thing here. We're pretty riled up about that one, and I'd like to mark the difference because. Yeah, games with live services can be the disappointment. I mean, they're the disappointment as a business model right now, in my opinion. At least for the AAAs. But games are different. I mean, not games. I mean, software. Work software is different. If it's a game and it's a live service, you're technically paying for tickets to a theme park. You're gonna get there to be entertained for a time, and then if you're gonna see yourself out eventually. I mean, not like I haven't seen an online game that's actually lasted longer than World of Warcraft or Ragnarok Online. Those two, like, they get shut down eventually. And that's pretty much because of interest. Now, if it's a disappointment, what you lose is, okay, you lost out on some money and probably some time, but at least you didn't lose living, kind of, with Adobe, because that's if you're a creative, that's your workplace. Those are your tools. They're your tools. You're not renting an apartment to record, or you're not renting a place to work in. You make images on it. Now, the way if it's being served as a live service, it's as if they're holding the keys to where you work.
Right. Yeah. And like, for example, if you're watching anything on YouTube, if you're watching anything on TV, believe that most of it is rendered on Premiere, and they're holding it hostage like this.
Yeah, and then so, and okay, you can switch to alternatives. There are alternatives out there that's just single buy, stable, maybe open source. There are, but your files are already in PSD. They're already in AEP, Proj. Those formats. If you're gonna jump between those two, especially if you're in the middle of a project, that's a huge jump, and you don't necessarily know how to use them. That's a lot of lost productivity time just trying to migrate to another software. That's really troubling. Now, the story behind this is apparently all right. It's not like Adobe actually wants to do this.
Yeah, they're not, but they're now. Apparently, we hear that Dolby Digital, the guys who do the surround sound stuff, they're suing Adobe apparently because people who are using old versions of Adobe have the Dolby license on it.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
That's what Google Foo has shown us so far. Like Adobe. This is gonna be a bit of a tongue twister. Adobe and Dolby Digital. There, let's go with Dolby Digital.
Dolby.
Adobe and Dolby Digital went into a partnership for probably audio. So you're probably gonna see this in your video editing and your sound editing programs. Now, if you're on the Creative Cloud, the Adobe Creative Cloud, you probably have access to several of these services. Now, if the deal was royalties, Dolby wants to see it. They want to see. They want to get their claims on it. Now, Adobe would say that, but our latest versions don't rely on your services anymore. And Dolby has a point, like, but your users are still using the old versions that rely on ours. So I'm not gonna get into the legal battle, but it sounds like both of them got they both got points.
Right? Yeah, they both got points, and the scary part is it's up to the legal system in the U.S. to finally resolve this problem, and we know that. Legal and technology don't really mix.
No, they don't. It's legal is about 30 years back. That's I don't know, like maybe 10 years if we're talking about a legal system that's really trying to keep on track. But no way. Like, how long has hacking been around since before legal actually put laws around it, right?
Right.
Like, that's not going to catch up. That's not a good solution. So, what Adobe is trying to do now is to get people to abandon their older, more stable, and the versions they're used to, so that the case can't exist. That's what I think is happening here. And again, you're punishing your users. You're punishing your users for the mistakes you made. Like, I'm not sure. Like, if Adobe wanted out of this, I would say that maybe you're probably gonna pay a fine for some time. I don't know how big it is. If it's within a reasonable range, pay it up and then get people to move on. Excuse me. Get people to move on, like what Microsoft does.
Right.
So we're all right. We're gonna go up to this point. If you keep using that service past this date, we don't support that anymore. So if you got a problem with it, I'm sorry, that's your problem now.
Yeah, it's a problem that if your Windows XP gets viruses, it's not ours anymore. We don't support it. So I think that's the way to go. But Adobe should have thought this. What to call it? They should have thought more forward. I mean, They should have thought that Dolby still holds rights to all versions of their software.
Well, we have the power of hindsight right now.
Right. Hindsight is 2020.
And if you were in the shoes of Adobe, you wouldn't think this was going to be a case.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, who would say something like that? Like,
yeah. Like, why would you say you're gonna sue your users for using an old version? That's so stupid.
It's really a strange time right now.
It's like you're suing it's like you're suing someone who's playing Street Fighter 2 because he's not playing Street Fighter 5. And that's so dumb.
Because I know the voice actor wanted to claim rights. It's strange. All right, so like we're gonna go a little bit back to exclusivity to round this out. So getting back to the exclusivity, it's obviously live services are still in a very experimental stage. Let's call it that. It's not. Let's be kinder. It's not. They're not mistakes. They're not fraud. They're experimental.
Right. Yeah, we're still in the baby stage of live services, kinda, or the adolescent stage where people are rebelling against it. So
okay.
So yeah, there's still lots of things that will evolve. Maybe in a few months, even in a few years, maybe in 5 years' time, live services will be everywhere. Not only with those things we discussed earlier, but with maybe even your your shopping could be a live service in the future.
Well, if Grab Food is a live service.
Oh, well, that's true. I mean, it's already starting to happen.
Yeah,
it's just the natural evolution of things.
True.
So before we got what it is out of the box, now of course what you get, for example, Windows 10 is a live service in a way. It's what Microsoft claims is the final version of Windows. It's just gonna get updates, more security, more whatever content. So that's just how things are gonna go now that everyone's connected to the internet.
Okay, so if we're all connected to the internet, everything's gonna go live service. One of the things we're more conscious about is our viewing habits. All right, so if we're going to, if all of our services or everything we interact with is gonna be a live service, like, I'm not sure if that's gonna be a very good place. There's gotta be a point where where the companies start aggregating their services again. Because look at our launchers now. We have so many launchers for games, and the most extreme case, in my opinion, right now is our streaming services. And we're going to game streaming, so that's gonna be another problem if they decide to go with a subscription model. For example, if you wanted to watch the Marvel movies, how many subscriptions do you have to pay for?
Yeah, like right now there's some on Netflix, there's some on Hulu or whatever. So and now Disney's gonna launch their own service, Disney Plus, in a few weeks. So it's gonna be very difficult as consumer to pick from each one of these services. Because they each offer their own original content.
Mm-hmm.
Disney has a strong suite of Star Wars. They have Marvel. They have Mickey Mouse, and whatever other licenses they just bought.
Nabbed Hulu.
Yeah. They just nabbed Hulu, and they have Fox now, so they can technically have Simpsons exclusive on their platform.
They have claimed the exclusivity stone.
Yeah, exactly. And now if you want to watch Stranger Things season 3. You need to have Netflix, but if you want to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, you're gonna need to have Disney Plus. So it's gonna be a mess, and this is only the beginning. There's gonna be other companies who want in as well with these services.
I mean, I think the best example for this kind of live streamer nightmare is anime, because some Netflix is actually getting their own some anime producers to produce anime and just have it on Netflix. That's great. That's pretty cool. But when the season is coming out, we have these services just trying to see what's the most interesting or what they think is gonna get users to their platform. And then there's the territorial restriction. If I signed up, for example, Crunchyroll, and I wanted to watch My Hero Academia, I can't because of the territorial restriction. So not all of the services that I want to not all the anime I want to be able to legally watch isn't necessarily available. So there's a bunch of things there, and it's gonna bring us back to did you know that piracy has suddenly gone up? It shot up
Right.
for watching shows in this year alone.
Yeah, I read about that. Probably we could say it's mostly of another factor would be Game of Thrones, because Game of Thrones is exclusive to HBO Go, and it's not even available in all countries. So, and for example, here in the Philippines, HBO Go is only available if you subscribe to Sky, or the only other legal way to watch it is to wait for it on HBO on your TV at a certain time, but it's even censored. So your hands are really tied when it comes to this.
So I guess we could say that this is the market in a way trying to course correct, right? Like we can't so far we couldn't detect a line where we think exclusivity is good, like or bad. We know that there are extreme cases, but where we draw the line is kind of in the dark right now.
Right.
But the answer seems to be coming from the market. Like if it's not good enough, we'll find our alternative, and the alternative might be sailing the high seas.
Right.
No?
Yeah. And I was bringing up a point earlier about Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
So Rise of the Tomb Raider it's a very unique case because Microsoft bought exclusivity rights for it for a year. So it came out on the PS3 a year after the release on Xbox. PS3 sorry, it was PS4. PS4 a year after the release on Xbox. So it was exclusive on Xbox for 6 months before it came out on PC as well. And it sold better than Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the new one which just came out, and is already discounted after a few weeks which was released on all platforms. So in this way, exclusivity worked for for Rise of the Tomb Raider, because Microsoft was able to market it to feature it as something for the Xbox, so people actually went out to buy it. So so that's a unique case for exclusivity was actually good.
So like the exclusivity deal made Microsoft market it. So thanks to that backing, it got better performance in the market.
Yeah, it did. And now they have the chance to, when the game came out on PS4, there's a new bunch of gamers who will experience it for the first time a year after, so they go out to buy it. So even more sales for them.
Okay. Well, all right. So there's cases where exclusivity can be good for the business. It can be bad for the consumer, but not necessarily. It's not always bad for the consumer. I mean, if you get a pre-order exclusive, or you get a if they make a service better, or they make a product better, because this is how I see it. Like one thing that PlayStation did with their games, even if they couldn't get an exclusive, I think this was it with Injustice. What they did was they put Joker on Injustice, but only on the PS4.
Right, the exclusivity content or exclusivity DLCs.
Yeah,
I think the worst case of that was when Call of Duty maps were locked to the Xbox or the PS4.
Wow.
DLC. So
So what's the point of owning the other version?
Yeah, like for example, the maps, the first DLC maps came out. For example, they had a deal with PS4 this generation.
Yeah.
But for the previous generation, it was on Xbox. But it's the same deal. For the content first comes out on PS4 or Xbox, and then it comes out on the other platform. But it's months late. So what's the point of getting the other version?
Wow. Okay. Well, maybe that was a bad example. But okay, so far I don't think we're making very good arguments on exclusivity for the consumer. It seems to be all business. So,
Yeah, it's pretty much all business.
But maybe there is a middle ground. We just haven't found it yet. But I think we should be wrapping this up. All right. So we came here trying to find if we can agree that this is where exclusivity should start and end. But looks like we're not quite there yet. And why do you think that is?
Because I guess it's the market. And it's the market evolving itself. It's the market evolving. Companies want to get exclusive so that people come to their platforms, but the consumers are fighting back on this. So it's really a tug of war between the both situations. And unfortunately, I can foresee that it's going to be continuously this way, because companies are gonna find even more ways of making money. So not only for microtransactions, live services, exclusivity. There's gonna be more ways that they can think of.
Yeah, or else they'd be bad at their business, right?
Yeah.
But all right, so I think the reason why we find this as an odd situation, because when there's this tug of war per se in the market, it's normally business versus business, generally it's business versus business. Which one can sell the better product? That's how the free market is ideally supposed to work. But now we have a business versus consumer because like I said before, for things like Epic Game Store, they're commoditizing their audience, they're commoditizing their consumers. For Steam, their everything is centered around the consumer experience. So maybe they're both too one-sided.
Yeah.
And now what's happening is a negotiation of how far are we allowing the businesses to go.
Yeah, and it's gonna course correct itself eventually. It's either the companies are forced to evolve their service to fit the other, or it's gonna be consumers just choosing not to buy their products.
Yeah, the alternatives will always be around, and they might take it if there's too much. I think there is a saying about piracy that I take to heart with Gaben. Like normally, piracy is not a failure of security, but a failure of service. Because if there's just an alternative that's just that much more convenient, you would go for it.
Yeah.
And there was a time that piracy went down because buying them was actually quite convenient, and we were able to. It satisfied more parties, right? It was more of an everybody win situation. Now the situation has changed, and exclusivity has become the more contentious issue. So I guess we're gonna have to wait a few more months to see how people flatten this out.
Right, and it's gonna be very exciting next month at E3 as well, because there's gonna be some changes probably when it comes to the Epic Game Store. So we might see some answers with these questions that we have.
All right, so I guess that's it. We're gonna wrap it up here. So thanks for joining us, friends. For those of you that would like to contribute to the discussion, go ahead and leave your comments. If this is a video, like it so that other people can see it. If this is on Spotify, and I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I'm not sure how you're supposed to promote that.
Right.
Anyway, if you want to see more of our work, you could visit our site, RaymondRufas.com, where you see more of our features. You also have a YouTube channel. We also have an Instagram and a Facebook page. They're all Raymond Rufas, easy to find. You'll be able to see our posts, our articles, our press releases, and our jokes.
Our memes. The best memes. The best memes ever created.
All right. So anyway, thanks for joining us, friends.
Thank you.
Will be... I'm not sure we'll be recording again, but we will be around, and see you next time.
Ciao.